welcome to the Sacred Rainbow Warrior and happy Friday. It's Friday today. This may not come out on a Friday, but today, right now, it's Friday and I love Fridays. Um, so talking about triggers and something else very interesting happened on my video, the friend zone. I had a guy say that it was a scam. So I want to talk about scams, right? Why men believe love is a scam. Now, this is all to do with triggers and narcissism as well. Now, a trigger is imagine somebody who shines light like the sun, right? And those blades of light or those needles of light are quite painful for someone who lives in shame or ego. Well, ego, yeah, because shame is ego and ego is shame. And and so people who push love away, they find it very difficult to be near someone who's love. And triggers are trigger words which bring up that toxic shame avoidance. And that's the definition of narcissism. Now, I speak about this so much in my book. I'm doing courses online. By the way, my website's live. It's amazing. I just did it today. I've spent so much time on it. Check it out. Um, the triggers are what make us feel pain, and it's the pain of the heart. It's this toxic shame where we try to avoid it, but the truth and the antidote and the most magical antidote of healing I can ever give you is that triggers are your best friend because they highlight truth. They highlight where you need to be healed, where you need to be healed. So every trigger, every trigger that you have is highlighting something that hasn't healed. I'll give you an example. If you tell someone, and this is classic narcissistic example, if you tell someone, "Oh, don't be so controlling," don't tell me don't tell me that I'm controlling. Don't use that word against me. It's very narcissistic to say don't use words against them. And they said that's a trigger for me. This is like this justice warrior, these social justice warriors that say, "Oh, you can't use triggers." It's actually the opposite, right? Always do the opposite of the ego, always. And the to avoid triggers is essentially to dig your hole, is to dig your grave. Triggers are something we should lean into, and yeah, it's not easy. But if you've got someone opposite you to hold space for you, then it can be really liberating. And it's how I teach ascension. It's one of the main ingredients of ascension. If you're not healing your triggers, you're not ascending because they're just gonna keep pulling you down. And the the and I speak about mirroring so much. Every time every time a trigger comes up, there's also this mirroring of telling the other person what they believe them to be, and this always comes back. And there's always this to and fro between someone who is not looking at themselves, not looking at their own triggers, and there is this there, there is this mirror of abuse where let's take the example of this guy that said that my video on how friendship is true love is a scam. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I've had some really really awful comments in the past, but um essentially what men are telling us, right? These toxic men is they're saying that they've been betrayed by their feelings of love so many times that they don't trust them and that they believe it's a scam, right? This is why people should own their triggers, yeah. So this is what happened to me when I was younger, just by being loved, you get abused, you get used, right? And these toxic men that hate women, for example, is because they were rejected by women. And being rejected so many times makes you lose that belief in love. And this is why men believe love is a scam. And it takes a lot of healing. It's very sensitive healing to overcome the toxicities of toxic patriarchy through betrayal of the feminine. And we blame the feminine for the betrayal, but it's not. It's mirrored back to us. I'm not saying there isn't a betrayal in certain personal circumstances. They're often always, Yeah, often or always is. And I've experienced that many times. And but again, I always say point a finger at myself. You point a finger at yourself and take responsibility for it and heal it within yourself. And that's because we have to take responsibility for betraying our own heart because we take part in all of these things that hurt us. It's our choice. We come to it. And this is, this is soul wisdom. This is why we choose to suffer. I'm going to do a separate video on there, like the truth of why we suffer. It's to do with our soul destiny. But I wanted to stay on the topic of the scam, right? I find this really funny. It's really brilliant because I had to heal this, right? And when I see other men fighting for it, because I never fought for it, I was like, this just isn't right. Like, I was saying this to my partner yesterday, right? I don't I don't understand. I never understood why um, men thought it was okay to be horrible to women. Like why men hated women so much. I just I never understood that. And I'm not saying I didn't go down that route, but it was only because I was blindsided by becoming part of the toxic patriarchy. But my heart and that voice in my soul was always saying, "No, this isn't it. No, this isn't it." But all the other men that were in my life at that time were just adamant that that was it, that it was all the women's fault. And obviously, I've met women say that as well. But when there's always this war, it's like just stop and just take responsibility. And again, triggers, right? They're so powerful. Like one when I was in ceremony once and I heard the John Bon Jovi song come on, "Shot Through the Heart" and "You're to Blame." And this is like when I go through healing and I talk about these things, I'm talking about really deep. I'm not talking about the societal stuff. I'm talking about the origins of where all of this distorted human behavior comes from, because that's where I went. I went deep. I just kept asking why, God, why? Spirit, why? Goddess, universe, why? Constantly going deeper and deeper into my innate DNA to find the answers. And so when I heard this song, "Shot Through the Heart" and "You're to Blame," I started getting these downloads and started to understand all the divine masculine who've been shot for speaking their truth, right? For essentially being love, John Lennon, Bob Marley, Gandhi, Malcolm, Martin Luther King, sorry. I was thinking of the movie Malcolm X. And all of them were shot, right? And this trigger, right? I'm talking about the triggers. And I got the download that the meaning behind pulling the gun is like that painting of Michelangelo reaching out to God, but instead of reaching out with love, they're reaching out with violence, right? And so when I went through that in my ceremony, I was looking for the silver bullet, and I had this like spiritual gun, and instead of firing it at someone else, I fired it at myself. And it was profound. Like I fell to my knees crying. I was like, "Yes, I've done it." Because I remember when I first started doing plant medicine, I was like, "Oh, I was told I got post-traumatic stress disorder, complex post-traumatic stress disorder," and I was looking for the silver bullet, the bullet that ends it all. And I remember I took some. I was in. I can't remember, Europe somewhere, and I had some bufo. And it was wild. And when I came out of it, I started crying and I went, "It didn't work. It didn't work." Because I thought it was going to kill me. I was all constantly looking for the silver bullet, and there's no such thing. But years later, I was channeling my guide, and I said, "What is how do you get the silver bullet?" And he said, "The silver bullet is always available, but it's always the last bullet you pick up." And I said, "Why is that?" And it's to do with worthiness, feeling worthy to pick it up. So you have to go on that journey to understand it. It's all about the journey. You can't just take shortcuts. And I can speak as a man that, I wanted those shortcuts. I didn't want to take the journey, and this is the problem. It's the whole problem with men. They don't want to take the journey. They just want quick fixes. That's why everything's so quick in society and toxic patriarchy. Everything's so quick, fast. Because, I spoke about ADHD because it takes you away from your heart. Speed takes you away from your heart, right? So if you take a deep breath and feel your body and feel your heart, it takes a long time to come to that sense of feeling your heart. And this is very difficult for people who believe they have ADHD, or for men or for women who are been through so much trauma that they've been thrown out of their own heart. And so it creates a defensive mechanism like a shield, and triggers hurt people like that. They're like, no, I don't want to look at myself. No, I don't want to look at my heart. And so this song, Shot Through the Heart, You're to Blame, is essentially shooting people who are just being loved, being lovely people, right? But it comes from blaming love. People, have you noticed people blame love? Like when somebody speaks the truth, they go, oh, well, you shouldn't have said that. You shouldn't have said that. Think about that for a moment, right? If I say something truthful and somebody hurts me, who is really to blame? It's the person that hurt me, right? But because I spoke truth and they weren't willing to hear that truth, they have been hurt by their own heart's betrayal. But instead of shooting themselves or taking responsibility for that, they shoot me with their abuse. That's how it happens in the past. And but it's um it's very difficult to explain to someone who's not looking at self, not willing to look at themselves, that that's how it works, because everything just gets deflected back. And you know what a typical narcissistic response is don't use that word, don't use that word. And my response to that is I will use whatever words I see fit, because I am love and I am speaking truth. And anything otherwise is just silencing. It's violence. It's censorship. Violence isn't always physical, it's emotional. I've done a video on this. Violence is silence. You take the letter V, it's the Roman numeral for five, violence. And it's to do with silencing the voice, silencing our expression, censorship. And it comes in so many different avenues and different expressions. And this is why so many people have, but mostly, especially men, because I had to go through this, have lost faith in love. They've lost faith in believing in themselves, and it's very sad because I've seen the complete opposite. I took the journey. I took the journey, and there's so much magic available. It's incredible. Like I never thought, I never thought that 6 years ago I'd be able to speak to animals. That I'd be able to speak to spirit animals. I never thought that God would speak to me. You know, I never believed in any of that. I never thought that I would receive the Holy Grail and heal the mother wound. Like that was just wildly out of scope for me. And that's one of the greatest things that's ever happened to me, if not the greatest. It was just magnificent. And if everybody just stopped pointing the finger at everyone else and just started taking responsibility for everything like God would, then everything that is not love would just dissolve. And that's what I'm here for. I'm here to guide people with that because that's what I do. And I've spent all week building my website, and it looks great, and my services are up there. So if you want to work with me, pop on over to sacredrainbowwarrior.com or thesacredrainbowwarrior.com. Thank you for listening. Bye bye.